Hello, I'm Yvonne from Somerset Libraries, and this is my friend and helper Archie. And welcome to episode 6 of Taunton Library Gardening Club. Today I thought we could plant out some cucumbers, have a look at what we can do with broad beans, but first of all we're going to deadhead some roses. The main reason for deadheading roses, as well as tidying a plant up, is to encourage more flowers. But that only works on repeat flowering roses like this one. This is a rose called Tessa the d'Urbervilles, and it is a repeat flowerer. That means it's out now, but it'll carry on flowering for most of the summer. There are 2 stages to deadheading these roses at flowering clusters. The first is to take off any individual flowers on the cluster that have gone over, like this. Just cut it quite close to the stem and it's gone. And then you're left with the buds that will come out later. But the next stage is if a whole cluster has gone like this, then you cut it much further down the stem. Next to a leaf axil, just cut like that. And cut quite a way down the stem, because if you cut right at the end, it'll just be little twiggy, spindly growth. Whereas if you cut a bit further down, that growth will be stronger. The regrowth will be stronger, rather. As you can see, I'm cutting these clusters quite a way back because they're quite spindly, and I'll cut back to a good bud here, which will encourage stronger regrowth. Well, I've finished the deadheading for now, but I will have to carry on through the summer as the flowers fade. This is an example of a once flowering rose, in that it flowers now and then it won't flower for the rest of the year. And you can deadhead this by all means to tidy it up, but you won't get any more flowers in the rest of the year. Of course, if the rose has decorative hips, then don't deadhead at all, because otherwise you'll be cutting off the hip at the same time. This is an example of a rose with decorative hips. It's that swelling just behind the flower, and they develop into pretty orange or red rose hips in the autumn. And if you deadheaded this, you'd cut that off, and that's not what you want to do. Now I'm going to plant out these cucumbers that I grew from seed. It's a variety called Burpless Tasty Green, and as the name suggests, they're supposed not to give you indigestion. Cucumbers are naturally trailing plants, and left to their own devices they cover the whole bed, and as I haven't got room for that, I plant them up as support like this, so they'll cling on and grow upwards instead of along. So their roots are quite delicate, so I have to be quite careful with them. When they get a bit bigger, I'll tie them into the supports, but at the moment there's not a lot to tie them to. Just watering them in now, and when they grow a bit, I'll tie them into the support. And once they grow a bit more, with about 7 pairs of leaves, I'll pinch out the growing tips, because that encourages side shoots where the fruit will grow. A few weeks ago, I showed you the broad beans in flower, and now, as you can see, there are lots of pods on them, and we've been eating quite a few. A lot of people aren't too keen on broad beans. I think they have nasty memories of school dinners. But I thought I'd like to show you a really good way to cook them. It's much better to cut broad beans when they're young and small, because they taste so much better. Once you've taken the baby broad beans from their pods, you either boil or steam them for just a couple of minutes. And then once you've drained them, melt some butter in the pan, and fry some squashed garlic for a minute or so, and then toss the cooked broad beans in the garlic butter. Or if you could prefer, you could use an oil and vinegar dressing on the beans instead of the butter. Either way, they make a really good starter or snack with some flatbreads or pittas. Well, that's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget that library members have access to full digital copies of all the big gardening magazines. Just look at our website for details, and it's really easy to join online at the moment. Please let us know what you think via our social media platforms, and follow, share and like as appropriate. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you'll join me again next week. Goodbye.